We begin with the breaking news from Minneapolis. Violent protests raged for a second straight night following the death of George Floyd after being arrested by a Minneapolis police officer. Last night, protesters turned their attention to the city's third police precinct, the base of the 4 officers who were fired in connection with Floyd's death. A police spokesman says officers evacuated the building shortly after 10 p.m. local time after protesters forced their way in and set it on fire. Here's how some of that played out live last night with MSNBC's Ali Velshi on the scene.
They're celebrating symbolically that they have taken control of the police station. Now, here's the question we don't have an answer to, Brian. We know there are, or were, to my count, I think at least 5 police officers that I could see. They might have been the same ones on the roof as were in the back. We don't know where those police officers are, but the front entrance, the main entrance to the police station is now in flames. There's no sign of police, and there's more debris going on. There's firecrackers being put off by the protesters in all directions. They've lit firecrackers in the parking lot. You can see that. There's a police presence on top of the building. Miguel, you see that? These streets are completely clogged in all directions. The earlier fire was only 1 block over there, and they couldn't get there. It wasn't even in the center of things. There's without a very heavy presence guard, there's no chance. There are thousands of people on the street. I get your point that to let a police station burn is symbolically an important matter for them to consider, but there's no chance of fire trucks getting in here at this point without a very heavy intervention by the authorities or by the National Guard. And I have to tell you, I just keep on emphasizing that they're not here. We're not seeing that presence. We know the National Guard's in town. I saw heavily armed vehicles on my way here earlier, but there are no police vehicles. There are no armored carriers. There's no National Guard in the vicinity, but there are a lot of firecrackers.
The mayor said later he made the call to abandon the building to cut the risk of injury and addressed the violence overnight.
There is a lot of pain and anger right now in our city. I understand that. Our entire city recognizes that. What we have seen over the past several hours and the past couple of nights in terms of looting is unacceptable. Our communities cannot and will not tolerate it.
Minnesota's governor activated more than 500 National Guard soldiers yesterday afternoon following the unrest and looting from Wednesday night. When asked where the troops were when the police precinct was being overrun, the mayor of Minneapolis said many were stationed at essential businesses like banks, grocery stores, and pharmacies to help prevent looting. We got live pictures right now as the city still burns.
Yeah, as the city still burns. And the mayor is right when he says that it is unacceptable. The rioting, the looting, let's just go down the list, and we will start with the images that we're looking at now. This is unacceptable. It's despicable behavior. It actually turns a lot of Americans against the good cause, the cause of justice for all Americans, but especially in this case for Black Americans. And the governor of Minnesota, I know he's called out the National Guard. They need to get on the streets, and they need to take control of this city, and they need to do it now. I understand a lot of times cable news networks will stay focused on just one small part of the city, and you don't have to tell me that the overwhelming majority of Minneapolis and the Twin Cities is safe and secure. I understand that. But the National Guard needs to stop this looting. They need to stop these riots. They need to stop them and stop them now. The National Guard needs to get on the streets because, Rev, I know you will agree with me, this only undercuts the more important cause. I want to read to you, though, something that was said yesterday that certainly upset a lot of people, not only in Minneapolis, not only Black people in Minneapolis, but Americans across the country. And it's this. Hennepin County Prosecutor Mike Friedman triggered an uproar at a Thursday afternoon news conference when he said, quote, "There is other evidence that does not support a criminal charge." Now, his office later issued a clarification saying Freeman only meant it is critical to review all the evidence. And I certainly understand, Rev, reviewing all of the evidence. But there is a balance here. And I know that you always talk about the importance in these protests to remain peaceful. And you always speak out against looting, and you always speak out against this sort of violence. So let's first talk about what happened last night, how it can never happen again. Authorities need to step in and take control. But then let's talk about what started all of this, and that it was the heinous killing of a black man who had a knee shoved in his neck for 9 minutes as he was begging for help, saying he couldn't breathe, and was calling out for his dead mother.
I spent yesterday in Minneapolis, and I brought with me the mother of Eric Garner, who was killed in a police chokehold, saying the same words